Hey, good morning, all. First, an apology. It's come to my attention that some of us had difficulty with the link to Chapter 6 yesterday, and I think it's because we didn't approve it for school devices. And so I think we have fixed that. If not, please, of course, let me know, and I will continue to work through that to find solutions to problems. It's what I do. I'm a teacher, right? Okay. So with that, this is going to be a long video because there's just a lot to do this morning. We have our learning check today. All right. Actually, it's two parts. All right. I was going to do these separately, but with last week's power outages and other things, and I've already explained that previously. This ended up being two learning checks in one. All right. And so I'm going to walk you through this fairly slowly. All right. And so, and importantly, this is something that you can go back to and watch again um, when, more likely when than if confusion arises or a need for clarity arises. All right. So, with that, let's walk through this. Okay. First, I want to start with, and I don't even know if you guys remember this, and I probably could have done a little better job of making sure that it was in front of us. But really, through all this work, we're seeking to answer the question, how does the human experience connect and divide us? And our work with Theme has really focused on the universal things that arise in the human experience. But this is requiring us or asking us to look through a little different lens and to think about how something like fear could not only connect us, but also divide us. All right. And so that's going to be kind of the focus for these learning checks. And it's certainly going to be the focus for the final. And I'm going to start with the final first. Okay. Um, and so to do that, I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. All right. And we're going to talk about the final. All right. The final is essentially going to be an essay. Okay. Um, and the learning checks are actually preparing you for and supporting your work with that essay. Basically, if you do all three learning checks, all right, you're going to have the body of the essay done by the time we get to it for the final. Okay. Um, but what I want to focus on for a moment is the final, so you know what the end game is and what to expect. Okay. Um, for your final, we are providing the thesis statement, all right, which will come at the very end of your introduction, all right, and will be the focus for your essay or what you're trying to support or prove through your writing, okay? And the only thing that you're going to provide is a universal theme, and I'll get to that in just a moment, all right? So, whatever universal theme you select, you will insert it here in this little template, if you will. Blank connects and divides the people in night, all right? Let's say that you have settled on fear. All right. So if fear was the universal theme that you have selected as a central theme for the entire book, all right, where you discovered examples throughout, examples of not only connection but also division, all right, um, that would be a worthy central theme to use for your essay. And so if fear were the one that you had selected, your thesis statement for your essay would be fear connects and divides the people in night. All right. Now, um, what's important about that conversation is that you do have to select a universal theme, just one that works for the entire book. All right. And so our work in the past has been like, oh, I discovered this theme, and now I'm going to show you. I'm going to talk about the discovery I made and provide a citation and a clarification for that. All right. This one is about finding a universal theme that is present throughout, making it a central theme. Okay. And the learning checks are an opportunity for you to do two things. All right. Really, they're going to serve a dual purpose. All right. One, they're going to help you kind of find a focus and frame a response for the final essay that we've been talking about. Um, if you do all three, as I said a moment ago, it's going to give you an opportunity to basically have your body of your essay done going into, and which is the bulk of the work, going into the essay for the final, which we will take. I believe it's next week. All right. And then the second purpose is it'll give you an opportunity to get feedback from me before the final. All right. So the goal is you get these done. I give you feedback. All right. And so I know this sounds like a lot. And so let's focus on the learning check. The learning check format should be familiar. It's just going to be a CCC, a claim site clarify template that we've used in the past. And for all three, you'll use the same central universal theme that you have identified for the entire book. And though we've only finished a third, now actually 2/3 of the book, um, you will have a pretty good idea, or should have a pretty good idea, of whether it's central or not. Okay. And so, with that, you need to pay some thought. I would encourage you to go to your night journal that you've been keeping. And one of those things that you were tasked to do is to find universal themes that you found to be present in the story. All right. And so that would be a good place to start. All right. But whatever you decide on, you're going to select just one, kiddos. Okay. Um, Importantly, you then have to find uh, you have to find evidence from the book from all three sections, and a section is defined as three chapters. All right, so section 1 covers chapters 1 through 3, section 2 covers chapters 4 through 6, and section 3 covers chapters 7 through 9. This learning check is two learning checks. All right, one covering section 1 and one covering section 2. For all three learning checks, you have to come up with at least one example. All right, so let's stick with fear here. You have to come up with one example from the book or the story where fear created connection. All right. Then you also have to come up with at least one example from one of the sections where fear created division. The third and final one can be either. It doesn't really matter to me, but you have to have at least one example of your theme creating division, and at least one example of your theme creating connection. All right, and then the third and final one, all right, will either be connection or division. All right. And so with that, let's take a quick look at what the learning check is going to look like with a CCC template. All right. How does your Okay, so first, what universal theme are you using for the novel? All right. If you're going to use fear, you would write fear here. This is your prompt. How does your selected universal theme create division or connection in section 1 of the novel? All right, you're going to make a choice, one or the other, not both here. Okay. Use the CCC template below to respond to the prompt. All right. Now, to help set this up, we have provided kind of a template here, if you will, a template within a template for you to create your claim. Okay. And we need you to use the following sentence stem. Blank creates connection or division in section 1 of night. All right. Let's say it's fear. An example would look like this. Fear creates division in section 1 of night. That is your claim. Your claim is already done. Okay. And people will have very similar claims, the only difference being the possibility of the universal theme, and then whether it's division or connection. Okay. Other than that, everything else is going to look exactly the same. So it's not really about the claim here. It's about finding the evidence, all right, to support that and being able to put that together in terms of making a clarification. Okay. Your site is where you're going to provide a discovery quote, all right, to indicate where you were when you found evidence for your claim. So if I'm claiming that fear creates division in section 1 of night, I have to show in the book where I made my discovery of that, okay? Which is no different from how we've been using cite all along, okay? And so, and please remember to provide a parenthetical citation for your quote. For example, it would be we sell 23, just like this. Note that there's no comma or punctuation in here. The period's on the outside, all right, and this would follow your quote. Now, to help you out with that, how am I going to go back and find these quotes, Si? Good question, all right? Just this morning, I uploaded a couple of things. One, night, the full text in a PDF, all right? So you can go back and you can find the quote. As a matter of fact, I'd like you to use this for finding your quotes. But wait a minute, Si, I don't remember what happened in what chapters. So what I have done there then is I have provided chapter summaries to help you find and remember and find the parts that you were talking about. All right. So this is for section 1, this is for section 2, this is for section 3. Okay. So I would start here first, like, oh yeah, I wanted to talk about Mrs. Schachter on the train. All right. Where was that? Oh, that was in chapter 2. All right. Gives you a quick summary, but it is not from here you choose your quotes, folks. It's from here where you choose your quotes. All right. Now, I'm assuming that this is all a little overwhelming, okay? And I'm going to hopefully set your minds at ease here in just a moment. So, going back to this, you find a quote. This is where you're going to put your quote. Please remember to put it in quotations. Please remember to follow it with a parenthetical citation that looks like this. The only difference between mine and yours might be the page number, okay? And then for the clarify, again, this is the part that matters, okay? And this is where you clarify or make clear your claim and how your evidence supports that claim. All right. It is not about, and we should hopefully we should hopefully be to a point where we're beginning to internalize this a little bit. It's not about explaining the quote, all right? It's about explaining your claim or defending your claim of that fear created division, and using this opportunity to clarify how your claim and the support, the discovery quote, come together to prove or support or yeah, to support your claim. All right, you're going to do this twice. You're going to do the same thing down here. All right. Gosh, Sai, an example would really be helpful. Ah, so I made you an example. All right. And so please use my example. All right. And what I mean by that is use it as a model to see how I'm asking you to do things. Okay. And so I've just stuck with fear here. All right. Fear creates division in section 1 of Knight. All right. Well, where did I discover that? I discovered that on page 26, and this is where Miss Schachter was screaming fire, fire, fire in the cattle car. All right, and the young men basically bound and gagged her, and even beat her. Okay. Once again, the young men bound and gagged her. When they actually struck her, people shouted their approval. All right, so that's the quote I'm using. Notice that it's in quotations. Notice that I've done my parenthetical citation directly after that. All right, we sell 26, the period goes here. All right, now on to the most important part. This is where the proof is in the pudding, chicos, okay? And so remember, always start by clarifying or making clear your claim first, and then making reference to the quote that you have used, all right? And I hope you'll notice here, I am not summarizing what happened, all right? I am using this for my own claim. Okay. And so here I go. Fear can often turn people against each other. That supports my claim because if we're turning against each other, we are divided. Okay. And remember, my claim is fear creates division. So I'm saying fear can often turn people against each other. The people on the train were initially sympathetic to Mrs. Schachter's madness, but eventually their general fear, the whole situation that they're in, made worse by her screams of fire, turned them against her, leading to the disturbing scene of the young men beating her. Notice I'm only making reference to what happened up here. I'm not summarizing or telling the story. I'm just making reference to show this is how and where I made my discovery. Their fear made them do what they likely would not have done during normal times. Fear can divide people in unexpected ways. And notice here at the end, I go back to fear and division, okay, which is showing that I am continuing to focus on the claim. This is all about the claim, Chicos. What did you discover? Where did you discover it? Now explain your discovery to me. That is essentially the CCC in a nutshell. All right. So hopefully you find this example beneficial. Okay. And so with that, I'm going to cut this short. All right, because it's already been too long. Hopefully this gets you started. Okay. And I would encourage you to maybe go back and watch this more than once. Okay. Please use my example. Please reach out if things still aren't clear. And again, this serves two purposes. All right. One, it helps you kind of find a focus and to frame your work for the final essay. And it also gives you an opportunity to get feedback from me. All right. All I'm asking for on these learning checks is an honest attempt. All right. To follow what you're being asked to do. All right, and to try to meet the requirements. All right, so you can get feedback and have a degree of confidence going into the final. All right, I have talked long enough. Hopefully this helps. All right, if not, just reach out, Chicos. All right, sorry it was so long.